Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hotter Not Smarter podcast. Today we have Stephen Kaplan, the owner of Trident Adventures. He's a former Navy SEAL, did a long career in the teams, and then somehow he cracked the algorithm. You know, he has the matrix down pat, where he's figured out how he never has to actually grow up and have a real person job, which is a admiration for all of us. Trident Adventures is a adventure group out in Oahu. They take people out scuba diving. They literally jump out of helicopters to do dive trips. He does leadership talks. He does corporate events. He does all kinds of things that bring people together through adventure scenarios to do team building and just confidence boosting. But basically, he hangs out in Hawaii, has a personal helicopter that he gets to fly around with and jump out of into the crystal blue waters of Oahu, and gets to keep living the team guy life without the deployment. So, Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm still a kid. I'm just a kid with gray hair now. It's getting worse.
Just helps you blend in. Makes you look distinguished.
Yeah, I think I'm every birthday cake I get from since I was 18 has always been 18 candles.
Just keep it that way.
I'm 43 now and I'm still an 18-year-old, so whatever, you know.
So in the teams, you jumped around a few spots. Like you were in Southern California. Obviously, you did some deployments to Guam. You mentioned Hawaii as well. Were you with SDVs as well?
Not really. I was with Trident over here in Hawaii. So it was a Trident 3 at the time. It's since been reorganized. It used to be with Group 3. I think it's Group 8 now. It's all changed. But anyway, I was with Trident 3. I kind of stood up a new MAROPS division over there. But I came straight from Guam as a country officer, working in Indonesia and Hong Kong and Philippines, and then went straight to being an instructor over there. So the goal was to actually join the SDV team because, there's nothing more frogman than being an SDV guy, even though the job blows.
12-hour dives, but it definitely has the cool guy stuff of swimming out of, like I said, I really don't swim out of torpedo tubes a whole lot anymore, but the dry docks and the SEAL delivery vehicles, it's definitely some froggy stuff that they do.
Yeah, for sure. So I spent most of my time at Team 1 on the West Coast. Actually, I spent most of my time working with you guys, Greg, working with you greenie beanies out there. I would consider myself more of a Green Beret than a frogman. I work with third group. I work with third group, fifth group, seventh group, 10th group. I think a little bit with first, but mostly with third and fifth group. In fact, my war daddy, I guess I'd call him that. His name is Wayne Page. He was a Green Beret in third group. He taught me more about combat than any frogman ever taught me. I learned all your guys' tactics. And I was a brand new guy in the SEAL team, so I got to go on all your guys' ops. So that was pretty awesome. Just staying humble, just stay humble and don't do the whole dick measuring contest thing and just learn. And I learned all your guys' stuff. So I got to do a lot of stuff with you guys. So I have a very high value for Green Berets.
Yeah, how were you augmented with them?
I wasn't necessarily augmented. We were doing joint and combined operations, working with the ICTF guys in Baghdad. So the ICTF, Iraqi Counterterrorism Force. So I was there during the time when everything really started to shift as far as the political atmosphere, where we're shifting away from unilateral operations and moving more towards turnover and advising. And because you guys were the ones that stood up the ICTF, that was Iraq's Tier 1 force, they were getting to Tier 1 missions. So we were working with you guys. I was at SEAL Team 1 at the time. I was a brand new guy. We were going on 2-3 ops a night. That was the average op tempo. And I worked, the ICTF guys were broken down into 3 different groups, companies, whatever they called them, but there's 3 of them. So myself and another, so it was a SEAL and a Green Beret that led the charge. So I was one of the SEALs and Wayne Page was the Green Beret. The guy had been in war for like 20 years. And me, I'm brand new, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, E4 nothing in the SEAL teams, just humble and wanting to get some. So he took me under his wing, taught me everything he knew. So when he went out, 5th group took over, and apparently I had a good reputation amongst you guys, so they retook me on a lot of their operations. I was also the comms guy, so they always needed a dude behind the radio. So they often often took me, not always, but often took me. So I got to go on a lot of extra operations because of that.
That's awesome.
That's
Greg,
awesome.
What group were you again?
I was at 10th group.
Yeah, I always have this
Colorado.
conversation with you. It's like either 10th or 7th, because you talk about both, but one of them is the South American drug lords that you always give shit about. Living down in Colombia, they always get married to Colombian girls. They have the connections with the drug lords down there.
There's always trouble coming out of 7th group. Like that, I'm not sure if you guys remember, I don't think what year it was, but maybe like 2018 or 2019, there was a warrant officer out of 7th group who came back with like a couple duffel bags full of cocaine or something like that, where he got caught. And it's just like, dude, what a fucking idiot.
And you have to wonder too, like if he's brave enough to be coming in with a couple duffel bags of cocaine, he's like, how long has he been doing that to be working up the confidence in the system to be like, I can do 2 duffel bags this time, not just one, or not even just keystring a little bit in a balloon. I'm going to do the full duffel bags and just be like, no one's going to question it. Throw it in the ISU.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. So the 7th group guys, those are the ones, right? Down in South America?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I worked with them. They took over. Oh my gosh. I think they took over for 5th group while I was out there in Iraq. And these guys, there was 2 of them that I recall that weighed less than 230 pounds. These guys were gigantic. That's all they do. I don't know what they do, but I know they work out like crazy. But it was really funny because at this point, I think we had been downrange for about 5 months. And remember, I'm a brand new guy. So this is back in like 2004, 2005-ish timeframe. And I remember walking down the streets in Baghdad. I don't exactly remember where. And there was a turnover operation. So they were turnover, I believe it was from 5th group at the time. And we were getting nothing but ineffective fire. You know, the spray and pray, the kind of stuff you barely react to. You just recognize it. Someone out in the distance is shooting something, but nothing, right? Watching these guys go hide behind the smallest objects ever, like a light post. These huge men who carry all this gear are hiding behind almost nothing. It was a cartoon. I couldn't believe it. It was like I'm living in a cartoon world.
Yeah, it's like watching Bowser trying to hide.
Going, what are these guys doing? They've never been in combat day in their life. So it was very interesting to watch them. They picked it up quick. Like anyone like us, they picked it up quick. Then they went back to the gym.
One of the medics that I ripped out on my last trip to Afghanistan, he was like probably like 6'6", like 280 pounds, and he like just wore like, for his med pack was just like a what do you call those, like those pouches that sit in front of, it's like a weight on your waistband, like what's the word
fanny
for
pack?
it? Like,
yeah,
fanny pack. It's like it was like a fanny pack. That's like all he brought for his medic bag. And he was like 6'8", and there was a normal size fanny pack, and that was his med kit. I was like, dude. So I just like packed the fucking barn for that operation when we did our rip with them.
It's like I brought an extra blowout kit. It's fine.
Yeah, just in case, right?
Yeah.
It's like, did you ever see? I don't know if it's on Instagram. It's on Reddit and stuff like that. It's pictures of Shaq holding normal things, but it just looks ridiculous. Like he'll be holding a can of soda, but looks like he's holding one of those mini cans.
Oh, really?
It's the dude is like, people just don't comprehend how big Shaq is until you're actually next to him. It's the stuff that he's holding is, and like him getting in and out of cars, because he just drives normal cars too. And the size of his shoes, from my shoulder to well over the size of my head, it's ridiculous. So it's always funny when you see giant dudes just wearing like a fanny pack or something like that, someone really small, and it'd be normal on me, but on him, it's like, dude, what do you actually have in there?
So when I worked with those guys with 7th group, the 2 guys that were under 230 pounds it was only because they were shorter. So had they been taller, they would have been at least 230 pounds also. The guys are just nothing but balls of muscle and no combat experience. Like in the teams, I don't know if this is true with you guys at the Green Berets, but I know in the SEAL teams, you can always tell where guys are at in their training, workup, and deployment cycle based on what their bodies look like. So if they look good, typically they just got done with the deployment, that like going to the Philippines or something kind of lame. But
lots of time to hit the gym and eat.
Lots of time to hit the gym and eat, right? And if they're looking super, super, super run down, they just got done with the entire workup. There's no time to work out ever. At least in my generation.
They just finished Land Warfare out in
They just
in Island.
Yeah, with Jocko. Did you ever had the pleasure of
I was just
Jocko lead that?
after. Yeah, I was just after he finished up out there. So I had the remnants of all the stories of like, oh my God, last workup cycle when Jocko was here. It's like,
it's terrible.
Hearing about the Trail of Tears where they literally kill everybody except for one guy. He's just like fireman carrying an entire platoon by himself. And there's
for miles. And I remember I was the A-dub guy in my 3rd platoon because I'm a glutton for punishment. And I was the comms guy, the other 2 platoons. So I'm always just carrying heavy crap. I mean, one of my nicknames in the SEAL teams was retard strength. So I'm paying the man for that now. Like everything hurts. If I have a joint, it hurts. But anyway, so I'm the A-dub guy in Land Warfare. We had never operated with body armor. Well, Jocko made us operate with body armor on. So that sucked. There's an extra few pounds, 1 or 2. And he always put guys down. He always put the A-dub guys down. Always. Just because they weigh a freaking ton. So you got 100 pounds of crap on you marching through Nyland, and you have this crazy long patrol. And I don't know why, but it seemed like every time I went through any sort of Land Warfare phase, it was always in August. So,
yep. Every one of mine. And my deployments to the Middle East, always in the summer.
Yep. Oh, my deployments were in typically wintertime. Well, there's the fall, winter, and then spring. That whole 6-7 month period. But yeah, Jocko would always put down one guy. His name was Aaron. He always put Aaron down. And he was an A-dub guy. And I'm the one that always had to carry him. And when I'm carrying this guy, and it's the middle of an IAD, so immediate action drill. So I'm carrying a guy, so I'm not shooting very much. So I'm carrying all my ammo. Usually, like, oh, thank God we got into a contact as an A-dub guy because you could finally just let loose. And you kind of do a little more than you really would in a real world situation, just so you're lighter.
Just dumping weight.
Yeah, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's about 8 pounds per 100 rounds with 7.62 rounds. So I was carrying Mark 48. Yeah, and let me see, what do we have? I think I had 700 or 800 on me at a time. I had 3 on each side. And then I made my officer in front of me, the JO, I made him carry 200 rounds. Just put it on his back so I could pull it out. Man, his name was Andrew. Man, I love that guy to death. He'd carry my weight. But I'd have 100 in my gun at least, and usually linked in another like 50 to 70 rounds on top of that. So whatever that weighed, I didn't get rid of any of it. But Aaron did the same thing. So I'm carrying him, and he was a 250-pound man with 100 pounds of gear on him, plus a 20-pound gun and 8 pounds in his gun. Me and my 20-pound gun and 10 pounds in my gun with all my crap. So I got 400 pounds of flesh and junk on me, and I'm carrying this guy through the deserts of Nyland for miles. That's Jocko's training. Yeah, I don't know how much training value I got out of that. I know my knees are still enjoying Jocko's training.
Yeah, so
it's very Marine-like.
Very
Marine-like. Yeah, it's like, man, I've already made it through the crucible at Buds. Like, I've proven I want to be here. I think I want to do real training and not just kick myself in the nuts for a month.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Nyland is this shithole of a place in the middle of nowhere. So El Centro is where the Blue Angels do their practice flying. It's where they're stationed. It's like right on the Mexican border in Southern California. Nyland is about an hour and a half north of that, in the middle of the Mojave Desert, right on the Chocolate Mountains, where you can literally do anything out there. The only people you have to worry about are the scrappers, the methed out people that literally go out into the middle of the desert and collect the brass that the helicopters dump when doing their shoots. They'll go out there and collect them and sell them for more meth, basically. And so it's the middle of nowhere. It's hot as balls. It's always miserable. It's dry as hell. I think there used to be some kind of like army training base or something out there that they abandoned. There's a bunch of cement slabs that are there. Oh, in the movie Into the Wild, yeah, that scene where he's out,
right.
That scene where he's out there hanging out with all the hippies in the middle of the desert. That's the cement slab. It's a bunch of just like
Slab
random,
City.
Yeah, Slab City. It's just random people that have, nomadic gypsy type people that live out there. There's nothing. But that's where we do our desert training, our land warfare training. And it's brutal.
Yeah,
Absolutely
you're being
brutal.
very kind, by the way. It's way worse than you described it. Yeah, it's the armpit of the world.
It really is.
It's right up there with Baghdad.
At least there's stuff in Baghdad's the cradle of civilization. Nothing survives out in an island. It's just true. Desert people. It's people you don't want to interact with. That. So with your career, you did so obviously several deployments and workups. What was your path that you're trying to take? You went out to the country officer, went out to be the country officer in Guam. Was that an intentional thing? Or were they like, hey, you need to take a step out of the platoon for a little bit?
Yes, I did 3 platoons at one. I finished my last platoon and my LPO made chief, so I took over as the LPO. And then after that, I was supposed to have made chief. I never did, by the way. I was supposed to have made chief right after that. So I was, after 3 platoons, I did 3 pumps at one. I did an augment at Dam Neck, which is the best gig on the planet, just so you know.
Dam Neck is SEAL Team 6 for anybody not familiar.
You show up as a first class with zero responsibility. You're literally just a shooter. Awesome. So I spent all that time in Afghanistan with those guys. And then after that, I was pretty much, you slated to go to Trident. It's kind of the way we do things. But there was an opportunity to go to Guam. It was at a minimum a chief's bill. It was usually filled by a warrant officer. And since I had just done my LPO tour, like, hey, I'll put on chief this year. And I was the number one guy in our takes a stupid test you take, the test you take to rank up. So I was the number one in the entire community. I got the highest score, and I still didn't make chief. And the reason why, I found out later, the reason why, I don't know if you had to deal with this, Kev, but we had just shifted from basically a paper-based submit your package stuff to a digital-based. Well, I missed out on that. I didn't know I was out deployed the whole time. So So I missed out on that. So according to the digital version of who I am, I had only graduated buds. That's it. Meanwhile, I've been on 4 deployments, or 4 like serious combat deployments. One not so much, because I went to the Philippines. Did a PI deployment. We were basically just doing JSETs and sitting around getting buff, working out, and eating a lot of rice and beans. But whatever.
You need those deployments every once in a while. Those are good ones.
Oh man, I hated it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. I look backwards as an older gentleman now, and I appreciate those deployments because I understand the more strategic side of looking at how our global positioning and how we maintain peace throughout the world. And I was a piece of that piece. However, when you're a young guy and just want to get behind a gun and shoot a bad guy in the face, because that's why you went. You didn't go to buds and get your balls kicked in so that you can sit around in the Philippines and play the strategic game. You went there to play the tactical game. So the way that essentially that works is at the bottom level is the tactical level, and above that's the strategic level, and above that's the operational level, like Operation Iraqi Freedom, stuff like that. Then, so in the teams, we're dealing with the bottom level, which is the tactical level. And that is, we're going after high value targets, high value individuals. And that's what we joined for, right? So when you're removed from that world and now you're at the strategic level, it's hard as a young guy to look at that and appreciate it. But as you get older, it's a lot easier to appreciate. So after I did my 3 pumps at one and my augments over to the Dam Neck guys, then I went to be a country officer instead of doing the Trident side. And so I was primarily the country officer for Indonesia. So I spent a lot of time with those guys, working with their version of SEALs and their version of essentially MARSOC. And we bring in other team guys to do JSET, so Joint Combined Exchange for Training. And I was the guy that ran all of the JSETs essentially while doing other stuff with the embassies, working with those guys in the embassy.
And you're out there for 2 years?
A lot of work with you boys, you greeny beanies out there.
Yeah.
So I've always had a real high value. appreciation for you guys, especially the fact that you always speak the language of wherever we are. Like,
Yeah,
I've
some
tried.
better than others. Some better
Okay,
than
well,
others.
all better than me.
Yeah.
I I have tried. I'm not an idiot. I'm kind of a smart guy, but when it comes to language, I mean, I cannot pick up a language to save my life. It's the only class I've ever failed in high school was taking Spanish. Like, that's it. I just can't pick it up. I took Tagalog. I took Farsi. I've taken. Well, I tried to take Spanish again as an adult. I just can't pick it up. My brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but have you ever like sat down in a classroom for 6 months and like that's all you did, and then also like have your Trident be contingent on you like completing that? Because I think if
No,
that was the case, you'd probably sit down and you'd figure it out. You know,
is that what
and
they do
that's
to you? It's
yeah.
like
You
your
don't drive,
career.
so yeah, you don't. Now you've been through all the hard stuff. Like nobody ever. I I can't think of a single person that I know that failed language school. However, there are people that failed like the physical gates leaving language school and like were
Oh
unable to
yeah,
graduate. Like because if you can't run and it's the 5 mile, it's always the 5 mile that gets someone. There'll be someone that can't run it in 40 minutes and they're no longer like that's it. You no longer get your Green Beret and you're done.
really? So, like, what are you dressed as? Is it pants and boots? Is it kit, or is it just running with tennis shoes on?
It's just like your normal PT gear.
Really, eight
Yeah.
minute mile? It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, like
But when you're sitting
you
in
got
class all day, you're getting fat and happy, aren't you?
yeah, but I mean, like, how hard is it, like, to have 6 months where like all you have to do is show up at 9 o'clock and then you leave at 4, and you have like there's no PT in the morning, no like organized PT. You just do it on your own.
Mm.
I mean, it's self selection at its finest, in my opinion. If you can't run 40 minutes or 5 miles in 40 minutes at that point, like, you probably shouldn't show up to group.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is
Yeah.
it just the guys that are, the pure meatheads that are in the gym just lifting and never doing
It's
any cardio?
100%. Like you'll just see these dudes
Mm.
like the way that I treated the Q course was like I have like one job, which it's to be like relatively light and be able to move long distances in a relatively quick amount of time.
You'd be a
And
terrible seventh group guy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're a terrible subject. Now, once you get to group, like I always thought, like, and that was like some advice that I got is like once you get to group, like then have fun, get big. Like nobody gives a shit. Like as long as you like stay in shape, you can jack steel and get huge. But yeah, it was the dudes that just like were already like taking testosterone, like we're already like just hitting like all these supplements super hard. It's like, dude, you guys are just in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the whole getting big concept. I guess you look good on the beach, but it doesn't work well for the job.
No.
It burns you
No.
out quick.
Yeah, big time, burns you out quick. So when I went back to when I went to Guam, so I was a country officer there primarily for Indonesia, but also working in Hong Kong, working with their version of their Tier 1 counterterrorism force. They're actually really good guys. I really enjoyed working with them. It's the Brits that trained them, all the expats over there. And then, so when I was there, I really gained it was a humble road. Number one, I was super low ranking, so I was at E6 and I took over for a warrant officer 3 that made warrant officer 4 doing the job. His name was Brad Ruoff, and I absolutely love this guy. I don't know if you had the pleasure of working for him or with him, but I mean, the guy was just a fantastic human being. I learned so much from him, but he kind of, he's like my sea daddy. So he taught me all the strategic side of NSWs, so Naval Special Warfare's placement in the world and how we work with all the other units under the SOF umbrella, and how that works in other countries as well. So coming from running and gunning for 6 or 7 years, straight to sitting at a computer, putting together all these different, putting what the heck's it called? The flights, flights, is it NALOs, and organizing all this training and talking to the command to get certain budgets approved so I can go to certain kind of training, and then running the training, and then bringing the looking for people with the right quals. Like I need an explosives, breacher, range safety officer. I need a static line jump master, and I need and you go through all the stuff. I need a closed circuit dive supervisor. And if I couldn't find one, I was the guy. So what was crazy is one time I brought all these guys from Indonesia with a unit called Kapasta, which literally translates from Indonesian to American as frogman. Actually, right back there, that was a gift that they gave me. It's actually
hell yeah,
I didn't realize what that was.
Yeah.
move my shoulder. So the commanding officer of the unit had that brought to me as a thank you gift for bringing them to Guam. I brought them to Guam, and I did nothing but high risk training with them. So we were fast roping and rappelling out of 60s, so out of the Seahawks, because we're working with the Navy. So we were fast roping and rappelling with them. We were doing closed circuit scuba diving with draggers on, and with units that are not Navy SEALs, by the way, or at least not American Navy SEALs. And then we were doing military free fall halo jumping onto an island, onto a drop zone, which is right next to the ocean. So that worked out not so well. And we're doing it out of helicopters too. And oh my gosh. And so I was supposed to have team 3. There was a platoon team 3 that was supposed to be running this. So I set up all the training. It's a month-long training. I set it all up, and I'm supposed to essentially turn it over and more of advise on that end, because I work with these guys all the time. I advise whoever was leading it, which is typically their OIC 03 type, along with their chief. Well, they got called up because North Korea is launching missiles. They're just taking off and going into the ocean, apparently. So they got called up. They're on call for that the whole time. So I ended up running this entire training with me, my 13-year-old, actually 12-year-old son, and a kid that wanted to become a Navy SEAL, that I would just, make him do push-ups on the regular while I'm typing up all my stuff on the computer. He'd report back to me. I'm like, yeah, just drop down, Jared. Make him do push-ups for an hour and make the floor all wet and make him mop it up afterwards. So the 3 of us essentially ran this training. And it wasn't just the training. I had to get their housing. I had to do their catering. I had to get them toilet paper. I had to do their laundry. Oh my gosh, dude. It was all their transportation. So I'm running all of this with me and 2 other guys with nothing but high risk training.
So was this
how many
2018-ish?
Let me see. No. That was, I want to say 2015.
Okay. So it was early missiles getting launched. It reminded me, my wife was living out in Hawaii. She was finishing up school while I was out in Korea when that false alarm that got sent off on Oahu.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah. So I'm in Korea working with the military there. Should be pretty well aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, what time was it? It was like 8 a.m. for them on Oahu when they got that alert on their phones that said, this is not a test, or this is not a test. This is not a drill. North Korea's launched a missile that's headed towards Hawaii. Go shelter in place. You have 15 minutes. People were losing their mind. Kristen was at her CrossFit gym there. She's like, oh, I can text my husband to figure out what's going on because he's there. Well, the night before, the rugby boys, we had a big night out. I didn't plug my phone in. My phone died. So my phone is now, or her call is going directly to voicemail.
Oh, no.
Making her freak out even more.
Of course it is.
Yeah, like there were stories of people literally putting their babies into storm drains to try and protect them. One woman talked about her kids were on different parts of the island. She had to make the decision of like, which kid is she going to go try and get? It was absolute mayhem. So when you mentioned the missiles getting launched, that's the first thing. Like, Kristen still gives me shit about that. That I got a little drunk and didn't charge my phone and made her go into a panic attack. Like they were literally hunkering down in the CrossFit gym in Honolulu.
Yeah, because that'll stop a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So
I mean, like, what's going to happen? I mean, if that actually didn't happen, like, let's just be thankful that it didn't. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm working on the set of Hawaii 5-0 when all this is happening. I wasn't actually on the set, so let me rephrase that. I'm working for the television show, but I'm actually staying with my friend, another retired team guy. His name is Jim Beck, another one of the greatest human beings that's ever walked this planet. I'm staying with him. It was supposed to be for 3 weeks. I was there for a year and a half, living in his spare room. And maybe we'll get to that story, but essentially I got medically retired, and that's the reason why. But anyway, so I'm working on all these different TV sets. So everyone and their mother was calling me in Jim. Is it real? Is it real? Is it real? Is it real? We're like, we got the same message as everybody else. Like, I got the same message as you. I don't know. Likely not, because by the time you got this message, you should be dead anyway.
Accurate perspective on it. But most people are just freaking out. They get that, and they're just losing their minds everywhere they're going on that island.
But you know what? As much as it was crazy, it was actually pretty cool the next day. There was an attitude of gratitude amongst people that was kind of unique, that people were grateful to be alive. They were grateful for their relationships. It kind of reorganized and prioritized people's lives a bit. I mean, it was temporary. They all went back to their old ways not too soon after that. It was like 9/11. What happened after 9/11? Everybody had an American flag hanging out of their home. You know, united our nation. The tragedy, but that was a real tragedy. This was not a real tragedy, thank God. But it changed, kind of reorganized things. And I think that's what's so unique about people in our communities as well, is that we're so faced with the potential to die on a regular basis, is that you have a deeper value for life that people don't understand, they don't appreciate. And not only are you faced with death on the regular, you are also willing to die. And anyone that's willing to die is a very dangerous person. And a dangerous person mixed with the type of training that we all have, a very violent person, but our violence is in check. That's a good warrior. That's a good recipe to make an awesome warrior. Green Beret SEALs, MARSOC guys, anyone under our umbrella is soft. We're very much built that way.
That's true. I mean, that's why they call it the Brotherhood. You know, that it's beyond friendship, beyond acquaintance. You know, you're trusting guys with your life in ways that most people don't ever realize, especially nowadays where there's so few problems in society. You know, we put our little problems up on pedestals because there's nothing else. You know, we don't have hordes of roving bandits trying to slaughter us on a random Tuesday. Everything's pretty tame. Your concerns are, you know, do you have the nicer car? Are you going to get the promotion? Are you going to, are your friends actually friends? You know, it's little things.
Champagne problems.
Too many bubbles in my champagne.
Champagne problems. Yeah.
Champagne problems.
Yeah. First world problems. That's usually what I call them.
Yeah. I just moved away from it. I like the idea of just having too many bubbles in my champagne. It tingles the mouth too much.
Oh man, I love that. You know what's crazy Butler. Is as a business owner now, I've tried to recreate that atmosphere, that brotherhood, you know, that way of thinking. I've never been able to. I've failed everywhere, every direction I've tried to take it. It's just can't do it. I don't know how to recreate what we had in the SEAL teams that just came naturally to us. I don't know how to do it.
What do you think it is lacking? Is it the environment? Is it the personality types? I mean, you can hire former team guys and former operators. Is it still lacking when you bring those same people on?
Yes and no. So the difference is vision, purpose, and goals, I guess is the way you could put it. So like in the teams, if you didn't get paid in the teams, would you still be a team guy?
Yep,
me too. So it's not you're not chasing a dollar sign. So what's the point? I mean, you got your balls kicked in at Buds and thereafter because you want to be part of a fraternity of brothers that were willing to die for one another. And then we could say like, I'll die for America, it's always for some greater cause. But really it's for the guy next to you. And you know, in the scriptures, Jesus says, greater love has no man than this. They lay down his life for his friend. And that is literally the culture that we live in. It's a culture that we don't talk this way because it sounds all cheesy and corny, but we live in a brotherhood in which the guy next to you is willing to die for you. And that's the safest environment on the planet to be. Even when there's nothing but chaos and explosions and bullets and uncertainties and whatever all around you, there's no safer place to be than a platoon of Navy SEALs. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys, the greeny beanie types. So, and it's because it's a community of guys that actually, again, we don't talk like this, but it's what we practice. It's a community of guys that love each other. to the point that they're willing to die for one another. And it's proven in blood and coffins in our community. How many tridents have you pounded into your buddy's coffin? That's a guy that was willing and went all the way to die for the guy next to him.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you take that way of thinking, not just that type of person who's been through the crucible to be part of that fraternity, but that vision and that purpose, and translate that into the business world? Because I see guys, other team guys, do all this motivational speaking. They do all these leadership courses. And I think it's a load of crap. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to take what we had and translate that into the corporate world. I think there's only one community on the planet that can mirror that, although I've never seen it. And that is amongst a group of believers, I mean that in Christian believers that are probably overseas in a hostile environment. I think that's the only place on the planet where you find anything remotely close to what we had in the SEAL teams. I don't know of anywhere else. And there might be, I just don't know. So translating that into the business world, even though that was my desire to recreate that, I have failed in every direction because people are chasing the dollar sign. And it's not a bad thing, but it was a hard pill for me to swallow. Like I'm retired, right? So I'm 100% disabled with the VA. I've lost most of my lungs and I have all my external body parts, but not my internal ones. So I'm 100% disabled with the VA. So I get a paycheck from them tax-free every month. I got my CSRC, I think is what it's called. So combat related, whatever. I mean, I retired as an E6. So, I mean, it wasn't like I was super high ranking, and I got out after 16 years. But even with that, it's essentially, I think it's approximately like 50,000 I get a year tax-free. So that's a pretty good chunk of change. And then my wife, she's just like you. Your wife's a GS as well. My wife's a GS. She works for the government. She's a contracting officer. So I don't actually need my job in order to live. Now, I will not live well because I live in Hawaii, and Hawaii is the most expensive place on the freaking planet. I think a gallon of milk is somewhere like $12. It's crazy stupid.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's crazy.
Super expensive.
But you can find a way to live. Because if you're living in Hawaii, you're not living in Hawaii to have a nice home. You're just not.
Yeah.
I happen to have a nice home because my wife's a real estate agent and she's brilliant and she figured out how to pull this thing off. But you're not living in Hawaii to have a nice home. You're living in Hawaii to do all the cool stuff outside. You're going surfing and every morning before you go to work. You know, you're going to go hike a mountain somewhere. You're on the purpose is what you're doing outside, not inside. That's Hawaii. So you take the pros with the cons. But I don't need my job in order to pad my pocket. So I can still take that mentality into what I do, that passion, and then my background as a SEAL, and bring that into my business world. But that doesn't mean the person next to me. It doesn't mean my chief financial officer, my COO, my one of my instructors on my boat captain, my helicopter pilot. That doesn't mean that they also have that way of thinking. Because they have to put a roof over their head and food in their mouth, and they're working, even though it's what we do is super freaking cool, and it is. I get to play every day. They still need a paycheck. So if there was no money, they would quit. So it's a different way of thinking. Let me see. It took a long time for me to swallow that pill, but when I did, I was able to be a more effective business owner and leader. But it was a tough shift for me because I wanted to believe in the highest level of this human that I'm working with, because that's the caliber of people I came from in the SEAL teams. Like, how do you get a higher caliber human being than someone that's in our community, a SEAL, a Green Beret, a MARSOC guy, a PJ, SWIC guy? I mean, how do you get someone of that caliber? And like, hey, you're a deckhand on my boat now. It doesn't translate. But I would say that at least in when it comes to what we do here in Oahu, we are by far the highest level operating amongst all my competitors. There's not even a close second because of that mentality. So even though I have failed to recreate what I had in the teams, it has raised the bar so high that even though I thought I can get people here, they started here, but now they're here. But everybody else, all my competition, they're still way down. Actually, they're below my screen. They're way down there. In fact, when I started my company, it was myself and Jim Beck, the guy I lived with for a year and a half. We were going through our PADI all of our certifications, all the way from open water to instructor. So it goes open water diver, advanced open water diver, rescue diver, dive master, assistant instructor, instructor, and there's a few things in between. We went through that as if we'd never dove a day in our life. We took the humble pill, and we didn't tell anybody we were team guys. I was the lead instructor for MAROPS. I led all the dive training for the SEALs. And I'm going through the same training as a 10-year-old kid that doesn't speak my language next to me, how to clear my mask and take my regulator out, put it back in, make sure you blow bubbles. Silly stuff. And I just did it and kept my mouth shut. And it wasn't until I went through my dive master course. My instructor, his name is Ryan. Ryan was a Navy EOD guy. And he pulled me off to the side and he goes, hey, Steve, are you a frogman? I go, why would you think that? He goes, I have a feeling. I go, yeah, man, I am. I just don't tell anybody though, man. I'm keeping my mouth shut for a reason.
It's funny how we can spot each other. You know, it's the little things that most people don't recognize. The Sunto watch, the gator sunglasses, and it's also just like, oh, there they are, gator sunglasses. You got the 511 pants and the you still got the G-Shock.
G-Shock.
Is that the second phase issue?
Same one, but no.
But yeah, we can pick each other out real quickly from a crowd. I mean, I used to always joke that special operators are like the emos of the military. We try so hard to not conform with the rest of the military that we end up conforming with each other.
Do you remember the emo song?
Which one was that?
I'm an emo kid, non-conforming as can be. You'd be non-conforming too if you look just like me.
That hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. You know who else can pick us out of a crowd? Women. Any woman that's been around our community can always pick us out of a crowd. And every woman I've ever asked, I've asked men, like, well, I've asked them, it's like, how can you pull us out of a crowd? And they always say, I could pick a team out of a crowd. And they say, because you walk with confidence. It's how we walk. I don't know how to pick out a team guy by how we walk. I do the same thing you're saying. They got the glasses, the watch, they're trying to not conform, but there's some military twist to them. Even though they're trying so hard not to look like they're in the military.
Mm-hmm.
But women can pick us out by how we walk. I don't know if that's true with the Green Berets. I imagine it is.
Yeah, I was always told when you don your Green Beret, like your cock grows like 5 inches and you start growing a beard. That's how you knew you finally made it.
You see, I'm the opposite.
It didn't translate for me. Didn't
translate. So
no.
I mean, here's the weird thing. So when I was a team guy, I was never a team guy, right? I was a Zamboni driver. I was a blimp line handler. I was a male cheerleader. I was a hockey player. I was anything but a Navy SEAL, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyone ever asked us, we always had some cool story. Blimp line handler was my favorite. Like the huge blimps, there's 4 lines that come down, and I'm one of the guys. I don't get to be in the blimp because I'd be way too cool. I'm not a cool guy, but I'd be the guy like in the stadium where they drop the lines. I'm one of the guys that hold the lines and help bring it down, which is more for show because the blimp's going to do whatever it wants anyway. But it looks cool when you have 4 guys and they kind of spread out to the sides and blimp comes down. I'm one of those guys. I always had a cool cover story.
I thought so. You put a lot of thought into that story.
No, not much actually, because no one will ever. Here's the thing: I was a Zamboni driver once, and someone goes, "I'm a Zamboni driver too." No way! I'm in an airport. I'm like, "What rigs do you work in?" Like, oh, the one in the other city that you don't know about. So it sucked once. I'm like, I'm not really a Zamboni driver. Sorry.
My favorite one, Joe Choi. Do you know him? Officer type. He's obviously Choi, Asian guy. Mm-hmm. He would tell people that he was some world famous sushi chef. And like, that's crazy, really? He's like, no, that's crazy talk. That's like me being a Navy SEAL. And then he'd walk away. He's a very unassuming guy. He played water polo with me. But I always loved and laughed how he would play it off like that. It's like, yeah, that's crazy. Almost like me being a Navy SEAL or something. And he'd just walk away. Because he didn't want to talk about it anymore. Man.
Did you play water polo before you joined the teams?
Yeah.
Dude, that is the hardest sport on the planet.
It's a fun with like.
How did you get into water polo?
California. It's what everyone does here. It's like the lacrosse of the West Coast. Yeah. If you
Okay.
grew up in the
Dude,
Northeast, you play lacrosse. If you grow up on the West Coast, you play water polo. No one else plays it. There's like 5 states in the country that play water polo.
really? Yeah, there's
At least when I
probably
was
no
growing up.
better prep for someone to go to Buds than to be a water polo player.
Yeah. I
I
tell
mean,
people all
when
the
it
time,
comes to sports.
there's 3 sports that just absolutely crush buds: water polo, wrestling, and rugby. But any one of those guys, like I'd give it like an 80 to 90% chance that one of those guys is going to make it through training, because it's
Interesting.
such an abusive sport that by the time you get there, you're used to just living in pain and discomfort.
Yeah, I would say definitely water polo for sure. I'm not sure about the wrestling side. I wasn't much of a sports player growing up. In fact, I didn't even know how to swim until I signed up to go to Buds. So there's that. But
I'll
if when
figure
it
it out.
comes, yeah, and I did. I actually figured it out by watching old women swim. They probably thought I was a creeper. I go to UConn, University of Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut, and this is after the lake froze over, and I couldn't go into the lake anymore. After I signed the dotted line, I'm in the DEP, delayed entry program. I was in the delayed entry program for 9 months, and that's when I trained to go to Buds. I actually came from Bible college. I was studying to be a pastor.
It's
So,
a very different career path.
nah, man, we just send people to Jesus
No,
one way or another.
same,
So
but different.
same, but a little bit different, whatever. And then, but when I taught myself how to swim by going into the lap pool, and I'd watch these old women swim, and I would mimic what they would do, and that's how I learned.
Dude, some of those women in there can like just like swim forever. And
Yeah,
like they're
because
like
they're
they don't
fat.
like they're very unassuming. Yeah, exactly. That's
float.
really what it is. They're very buoyant. They are very buoyant.
Yes, I couldn't. I sink like a rock. I was so lean. All right. So before I joined Buds, this was my
How old were
workout
you when you went through
regimen.
Buds?
Well, I was many ages. I started at 21, and I think I was 24 by the time I made it, or just before I turned 24. I was in Buds for about 2 years.
It's like doing the 5-year college program. It's a 3-year Buds program.
Yeah, it sucks so hard. I was in first phase for a year, so I got every season of first phase. I was in I was in 2 winners of first phase. That was awesome. And then I was a winner second phase and a spring third phase. But I started class 244. I put a stick through my forearm on the obstacle course. That sucked pretty hard. What Buds class were you?
298. Well, I graduated SQT with 298. I went through 296 and 297 for Buds.
Oh man, you're just a baby. So
Yep.
you seen on the obstacle course? Did you have the rubber on top of the low wall?
Top
The
of
rubber
the
slab, low wall,
Like
the first wall you jump over.
But just on resting on top of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Is
because
that
of me.
you?
Yeah, because there was no rubber before, so it was just wood coming up like this. Well, when I went over the low wall, part of that wood splintered off and went right through my forearm, went through here and popped out over there. So it looked like an arrow sticking out of my arm. So that was an indoc of class 244. Ran over to instructor Billy Lyman. He's a surfer from California. And I'm like, oh, Instructor Lyman, I can't finish the obstacle course. My fingers are all locked like this. I went to the high wall, which is the next obstacle. It's just a rope that comes down a wall with a rope on the other end. So you just grab it and you kind of shimmy yourself up, flip over the top, and then come down. I couldn't grab the stupid rope because my fingers were all locked like this. What the heck? Because your adrenaline's pumping like crazy.
Oh yeah.
So it's I heard the crack. I looked at it. My brain didn't register like there's something wrong with you. Just keep on going. But yeah, there's definitely something wrong with me. So I ran over to Billy Lyman. I'm like, Instructor Lyman, I can't finish the obstacle course. And he looks at my name tag. He doesn't even see the stick coming in my arm. There's no blood, by the way. And he goes, oh, Kaplan, go over there and quit. And nobody was ringing the bell because it was indoc. People are just lining up to quit. So I'm like, I don't want to quit. I can't grab the rope. He goes, oh, man down. You got to do the thumb down. And he's talking like a surfer. He's from Santa Barbara. And then everyone has to get in a knee, and I'm so embarrassed because there's guys that are just about to finish the obstacle course. They have to start all over again. They're like on the last obstacle, and they have to start over again because of me. There's guys that are all the way up in the cargo net. How high is that cargo net? It's got to be like 65 feet or something.
40
is it 40?
feet,
I
yeah.
thought it was way higher than that.
Yeah.
All right, so 40 foot. whatever. So they had to come down and get on a knee, and everyone's staring at me, like 300 people. This is day 2 of Indoc, so people are just starting to quit. And I'm got this stick coming out of my arm. And he goes to grab it. I'm like, hold on. He's going to rip the thing out. I go, hold on. It's coming out the other side too. So I had to go get that thing surgically removed. It actually went in my arm and did one of these things. So that's why I couldn't move my fingers, because it splintered in all these different directions and pinned all that tissue into itself, I guess, or into other parts of the tissue, other muscle and tendon and whatever. So it made my fingers lock. So that was awesome.
So
that was
you got rolled?
Yeah, I got rolled for that.
You got rolled, had to do surgery and come back into it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is, I was one of the top performing guys because I trained for 9 months before I went in. That's all I did. So before I joined Buds, I did this is my workout regimen. I do 1,000 push-ups in the morning, 1,000 dips, 1,000 sit-ups, 150 pull-ups, run about 8 miles, and swim about a mile, 6 days a week. Give myself 1 day of rest. I only gave myself 4 hours of sleep a night. Always took cold showers, as much as I could to prepare myself, for Buds. I don't know. I wasn't an athlete, so I was just training. And I didn't have a trainer. I didn't have someone that coached me. I didn't have a mentor. I just kind of figured it out and did it on my own. Like my mentor was the ladies I watched. Watch them swim. I'm like, how do you float? I sink like a rock. I sink like a rock still. And I got some extra love around my waist I never had before. I went from like a 30 to a 36 now, or 34, 36 waist. I'm like, oh man, getting old blows. I'm getting more real estate for more body hair, But and I still in salt water with a full breath of air sink like a rock. I'm still that lean everywhere else, I guess. So I was super jealous of these women that could just float. So they're doing their movements, and I'm doing those movements trying not to die, stay on the surface of a pool. But that was my workout regimen. So I went being like one of the top, like when we did our, what's it called? PST, physical screen test. Like my push-ups, I did 152 push-ups in 2 minutes. Yeah. I was crazy strong, like nickname retard strength, right? So I was crazy strong. And I was pretty fast. I wasn't the fastest. I was usually like top 4 in all my Buds classes. I was in 5 of them. I was usually top 4 runner. Swimming, I was definitely below average because I wasn't a water polo player. So swimming was always a major struggle for me. So I went from being like the top 10% when I showed up to class 244 to now I just got surgery in my arm and now I'm the bottom 10%. I can't make a fist. And I'm going through the hardest, no offense, hardest military training in the world, not the Q course. With a bum arm. We got to climb ropes and do pull-ups and do all that kind of stuff. I couldn't. So everything I did was I had to favor my entire left side because that's all the strength I have is in my left hand. Climbing ropes, all one-handed climbing ropes, doing pull-ups. I could wrap my wrist. I still had all my strength. I just had no grip strength. So I'd wrap my wrist and I could do pull-ups like that, but I couldn't actually grab a pole or grab whatever it is, the bar, because I would just slip off. So anything we did, paddling the boats, I had to do pretty much all left-handed. Carrying the boats left-handed. When we put them on our head, that's the only time my body was in proper alignment.
Sure, it's like I'll always be on the right side of the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Telling you, Boker, don't ever switch me to the other side.
Yep. So I have all these overuse injuries in my left side because of that. Anyway, so I'm in class 245. It's an El Nino year, so the waves are gigantic. And when the waves are big, you're in them. Somehow, some way, the instructor staff find a way to put you into the water. If it's hot and the waves are cold, you're running and you're sweating your balls off. For the most part, though, Buds is really, really cold and absolutely miserable, and you're in the water. And anyway, so we're paddling those boats, and we get flipped by a wave, because it pays to be a winner, right? So the boat gets flipped, and the guy behind me, while we're airborne, being flipped by, I don't know, probably a 12, 15-foot wave, it launches us. The guy behind me smacks me upside the head with his paddle and blows out my eardrum. So that was pretty miserable. Hit the water's freezing cold, and instant vertigo. I had to get rescued by 2 people. I don't even remember who they are. My world was spinning like crazy. And we were in our K-Pox, so you have a life preserver on. But I'm in the white water, and at least what I was told, all I see is boots in the air. I'm trying to get a breath of air, and I'm apparently trying to swim to the bottom of the ocean to find it. But anyway, these guys grab me, and we all get washed up to shore, and they carry me onto the beach. And I see one of the instructors who I'm not a fan of to this day. Probably wouldn't go well for him or my fist if we met each other. Now, all right, number one, I am not right in this. The guy was just playing the role as a buds instructor. But you know that sadistic laugh? It reminds me of Joker. Like if I watch Batman, Joker, and that sadistic laugh, that's that guy's laugh. And he's laughing at me, and he says, "What's the matter, Kaplan?" And everybody knows me now. I'm the guy that put a stick to my arm on the obstacle course. So they called me Vlad the Impaler.
How many nicknames did you get?
Oh, bro, I have so many nicknames. Plus, you know, and I'm a really hairy fella too. So Man Bear Jew is one of them. Well, have you seen South Park with Man Bear Pig?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Man Bear Jew. Chewbacca was another one. My father's side of the family is all Jewish, so I got all the Jew jokes. I'm a Christian by faith, but Jewish by blood.
Just mixing it all up. I tell people all the time I'm Jewish, but it's a heavy emphasis on the ish. Like,
yeah, right.
I am from a Jewish family, but we did not do much with it, and it's just, I don't know, it's more of a race at this point than it is a religious belief.
It is a religion, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually the only religion that is also a race. So there's that. Yeah, you're God's chosen people, buddy. You and me, Jewish.
Supposedly. That's what they say.
Yep.
Hey, so you had a whirlwind of a buds experience. You're just constantly getting hurt, constantly having misfortune, but you're in it for the long haul. What is it you tell people that ask you, you know, what kept your head in the game?
My faith.
For so long.
My faith. 100%. Yep. And I won't sugarcoat it or make light of it. It is the only thing that kept me was my faith and my love for Jesus. There's nothing else beyond that, because there was no other reason to be there at that point. My body was broken. I mean, seriously broken. I just blew up my eardrum. And the reason why I didn't know how to swim, and I learned how to swim after I signed up to Buds, because I grew up the first few years of my life deaf. I checked all the boxes as the retard. So I rode the short bus to school. I went to speech therapy. I had to repeat first grade because I was dumb as rocks. All my classmates were kids with Down syndrome and other mental disabilities, I guess. Those were my classmates growing up. I went to speech therapy until I think it was the 6th grade, until they figured out I'm actually not that dumb. I just can't hear. They put me back in class with the normies, and I just had to sit in the front of the class to hear the teacher. But anyway, so I had an interesting road growing up, but because my ears were so messed up as a child, if I get water in my ears in the shower, I'd have an ear infection pretty easily. So I was always afraid of the water. I had a pool in my backyard growing up, and I would go in the pool, no problem, but I couldn't be in there if someone was splashing. So I'd go in the pool to cool off, but I could put my head underwater if I put, what do you call it, earbuds in my ears or Ear Pro. But if any water seeped in, oh man, that was the end of me for at least a week with the ear infections and pain. But that's why I was always afraid of the water. I didn't know how to swim for that reason. So when I signed up to be a SEAL, I'm like, all right. Because
I believe just outgrow that issue.
That's what God had called me to. I left Bible college to be a SEAL. I didn't even know what a SEAL was. So
how'd you hear about it?
I didn't. I just knew I was supposed to join the military. So I guess we'll go down that road for a second. So I was in Elam Bible Institute, studying to be a pastor, and I had front loaded all my classes. So I was essentially coasting my last semester, and I didn't show up. I didn't show up because I felt like that God had called me to be in the military. I didn't know what it was. And so I went to all the recruiters, went to all of them at least once. So went to the Navy twice. The first one I went to was the Navy, only because I thought Top Gun was a cool kid was a cool movie when I was a kid. No other reason. So I went there and I'm like, wow, this is not what I thought it would be. This is kind of stupid. So I went to the Air Force, went to the Army, went to the Marines. I thought I'd do Marines because I didn't know anything about the military. No, I mean, other than what I saw in movies. So and I didn't really have any family members. My grandfather was he was a Navy guy in World War II, but I didn't. I have his gun. It's sitting over there somewhere. It's right there. His World War II gun. But I didn't. I don't know. I didn't really know him as a Navy guy, so I didn't really. I had no real background, no nothing. So I just went did my just figuring it out, talking to people. There wasn't like the internet really. I couldn't just look it up. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't know. That was that weird fuzzy generation where the internet was just starting to be a thing. We still had to dial up to send emails. You don't even know what that is. You're way too young.
Oh no, I know very well that screeching sound of the dial-up.
All
Especially
right.
when you pick up the phone and someone's on it, and you hear
Yes.
that ear-piercing sound.
Yeah. All right. So you do know. Anyway, that's my era of trying to figure out what's going on with this Navy SEAL thing. Anyway, I didn't even know what a Navy SEAL was at this point. I went to the Marine Corps, and the guy is telling me a story. There's two of them, these recruiters, one gunny sergeant and one, I don't know, E5, whatever that is. And the E5, the younger guy, was talking about this time where he's running with these things around his neck, and he's just doing what he's told, and it was crazy, and he's running back and forth just following orders, and then he's literally got a tear coming out of his eye when he told me, and then he realized he was carrying a bandolier of explosives. I'm like, that's the dumbest story I've ever heard. I'm out of here. I literally walked out while he's got a tear coming out of his eye. That's retarded. I don't want to be the guy that doesn't know what I'm doing, just following orders with explosives around my neck. You kidding me? Like, that's his cool guy story. I'm like, I'm out of here. So I walked back into the Navy only because it's an office with all the different branches that are represented in this one office building. Each one has their own room, and the Navy, the door was open, and the guy I had originally talked to, his name was Wes, like really cool dude. He was a E5, and I don't remember what he did in the Navy, but just a really good guy. And so I walked in there, and I was like, "Hey, man, seriously, I know I'm supposed to be in the military. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Seriously, help me out." He goes, "Just take the ASVAB, and then we'll see what you qualify for." So sure, I took the ASVAB. I scored stupid high on it. I never studied for it. In fact, I ran out of time. I didn't even know it was timed. I ran out of time, and scored stupid high. And I'm sitting there with a career counselor, and he says, "Man, you should be a nuclear technician." Like, oh, what's that? He tried to explain it to me. I'm like, that's not why I'm here. I don't want to be the guy. Because all I could think of is Homer Simpson in front of the nuclear power plant. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Pushing the buttons.
Yes. Anyway, he went through the whole job. So I'm like, but nothing resonated with me. And eventually he goes, "Well, we have these special programs." But I was like, "All right, what are these special programs?" And he went through like, "Well, we have these guys that drive fast boats, the SWIC guys. We got, bomb guys, EOD. We got Navy divers. We have Navy SEALs." I'm like, "Wait, what'd you say?" And he went through the list. I'm like, "No, the last one you said, it's Navy SEALs." I didn't know what it was. He goes, "Oh, Navy SEALs. You don't know what that is?" I'm like, "No, what is it?" And he started sort of describing to me, and I just stopped him like, that's why I'm supposed to be here. Sign me up for that." And he goes, and the guy puts his papers down. He's all mad. He goes, "Why do all smart ones want to be SEALs?" I don't know. Just make me a SEAL. And he says to me, he goes, "No one from this office has ever made it through that program." I don't. Fine, I'll be the first. I don't even know what it is, but sign me up. That's why I knew that's why I was supposed to be there. I can't tell you how I know. It's just something that you know, but you can't really explain it. That was that moment for me. So he goes, "All right," and he's all mad at me. It was weird. And he hits print on his computer, and I just see the printer go, paper. It keeps on going, and finally it's done. And it's just awkward silence the whole time, and just sitting there like, this guy's mad. We're just waiting for this printer to quit printing. It's like this thick by the time it's done. And he hands it to me. He goes, "There, that's all the stuff you have to do to be a Navy SEAL." It's like, and I'm slowly, it's like 100 pages. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a lot. And I'm going through all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, combat swimmer, all this. I'm like, swim? Yeah, swim to be a SEAL. Go ahead and swim.
He's like, "Man, I thought you were smart."
Right, exactly. So I'm like, all right, well at that time we had to pick what was called a SEAL source rating. Was that after your generation?
Yeah.
All right, so you signed up as an SO then?
I was an officer, but I came from the Marine Corps, so I
Oh, that's
did
right. I
Marines for
forgot you
4
were Marine
years
before
and then
that.
came over. But yeah, the whole professionalizing of the SEAL teams had its good and bad aspects to it. It created a lot of issues, but it also streamlined so that you guys didn't have to, go study a top secret curriculum on how to, repair the radars or something like that for something you've never actually done as a SEAL.
Right,
So I
exactly.
understand why they did it.
Yeah, 100%. So I had to, during the time, SEAL source rating. So the Navy had certain jobs, or I guess the Army would call it an MOS, right?
Yep.
That these special programs can pull from into the all volunteer force of being, a Navy SEAL. So I picked the one that sounded the coolest because it had the word parachute in it, parachute rigger, so PR. And I thought it was cool because then I'd be jumping out of airplanes. That would prepare me for all the cool stuff of being a Navy SEAL. That is not what that was. That is,
Nope.
you learn for a month how to sew parachutes. I sewed a really cool looking bag though. So
At least you
I
got
go to
something
this
out of it.
school. It never jumped out of an airplane. It's the actual rate is called Aircrew Survival Equipment Man. So you're working on all the survival gear of anyone that's a pilot or aircrew, and it is not a cool job. Some
Did you pick
guys
up
get
it?
to jump out of
Did you learn?
airplanes, but what's up?
Did you learn how to sew? Did you pick
Yeah.
up like has that been like a skill that's stuck with you?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's at
Cool
least
guy,
that's
Navy
cool.
SEAL. So yeah, so the guys in the teams love you because you just go to the Paraloft and sew their gear up for them.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a big deal. So yeah, I would do that. Like when we got those the cry pants with the
Pants.
built-in
Yeah.
knee pads. Well, I was doing that way before that was a thing. I would just go find, take those foam roll-up things that we would sleep on, those mats or PT pads, and I would cut them up and I would sew them into my knees. It worked great.
Nice.
Everyone
Brilliant.
made fun of me until I was the guy on my knees and my knees didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Out in an island. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And I loved it. But yeah, so then guys would ask me to sew their stuff up for them, try to sew this new piece of kit on. And that was before we had all the Molly kit and everything, where everything just kind of stitched into itself and it's kind of a la carte how you want to set up your kit. Back in my day, yeah. But so I signed dotted line to join the teams and spent 9 months training. Was a class 244. Put that stick to my arm. 245. Got smacked upside the head. Blew up my eardrum. Now I'm in class 246. Start training all over again to include INDOC. And now I'm the guy that knows everything about buds now. I'm the guy who calls out the instructors because I know them all very well. And then in the middle of Hell Week in class 246, running around with the stupid boats on our head. Now I'm getting strength back in my right arm. So I can actually make a fist now. So I'm kind of back on track, although I still have those overuse injuries on my left side. But we're running around with the boats on our head on Tuesday of Hell Week, so the second day of Hell Week. And right by Hotel del Coronado, there's some kid probably the day before dug a hole next to the beach because they thought it was cool. They're going to dig to China. And I stepped in this hole. I didn't see it because all I see is the back of the guy's head in front of me. And I hyperextended my left knee and then tore the tendon on top of my ankle. Oh, and I blew out my left eardrum. I forgot about that. So the whole left side of my body with all these overuse injuries, now I'm really messed up. So I have hyperextended knee, torn ligament, or torn tendon, and a blown out eardrum from an ear infection. That was fun. And then I eventually made it through the rest of Hell Week with a bum leg. And then as soon as I finished that, I got rushed to the hospital, had to get a bunch of surgery, and took me 4 months to walk again. And
Woof.
just under 4 months, really. So hobble around crutches, going to physical therapy. And then I skipped class 247. I was in it for a day on crutches, trying to keep up with the guys in walk week. That didn't work out so well. I'm in the goon squad on crutches, and they just got out of Hell Week. And during this time, this was the worst time. So there was an instructor there that was in charge of nothing but the brown shirt rollback. So when you make it through Hell Week, you get to look like everybody else in the military. You get to wear a brown shirt. But that's huge. You remember the first time you put your brown shirt on and saw yourself in the mirror?
Or
That
just
felt good, didn't it?
when you a week, and they had the brown shirt laid out for you with your name already stenciled on it. You know, the people that were working Hell Week,
Right.
all the students, they stenciled one for you. Like, I finally have my own brown shirt. Get this white trash off me.
Yes. It feels so good. It's just a stupid different color shirt, but it represents so much in our community. So, so this guy was in charge of the brown shirt rollbacks. I won't say who it is because I don't think he's a good person, and I don't talk bad about other frogs. But this guy, he would have been a great first phase instructor. He would have been great there. He was a chief, and he should not be a chief. And they put him in charge of guys like me because he made chief climbing through the ranks, but he didn't do it as a SEAL. So I think he's a guy that made it through Buzz as an E6 and then made chief right after that. So he's never operated as a Navy SEAL. He's a chief, and they don't know what to do with this guy because this was before we turned over to the SO rating, in which we can kind of control people's progression at that point, progression through the ranks. So we got this guy, he's in charge of us, and we're all broken. And I think there's maybe 13 or 14 of us from various portions of training and classes. We're all in this brown shirt rollback land is what we called it. And this guy was in charge, and we were standing watch every day, quarter deck watch, or remember 618. We're standing watch every day, or I should say every night. And all day long, this guy's beating the living snot out of us as if we're day one, week one, first phase of buds. He's beating the snot out of us, and we're broken. So I remember, I got a bum leg and I got a blown out eardrum. I'm on crutches, and he's making us do fireman buddy carries up and over the berm for 4 hours at a time. And I just need to heal. Like, sure, make me do push-ups all day long, but my leg needs to heal. I can't be doing these stupid fireman buddy carries. We had 2 guys that had made it through Hell Week that quit because of him. And I know one guy for sure came back and made it through. Ended up being a great frogman. But I remember, I don't know if the other guy came back. I would venture to say he did. I don't know. I know one guy came back, and I remember him saying when he quit, he said, I want to be able to throw a baseball with my son one day. He goes, and if I stick around this, and he had a lot more maturity than I did. And I was older than him, but he said, I want to be able, I'm okay with being hurt. I'm not okay with being injured for the rest of my life. And if I stick around with this guy, I'm going to be injured for the rest of my life. So I can make it through buds, but I can't make it with this guy. And I was told that he told that to the commanding officer, who was Captain Smethers at the time, one of the greatest human beings ever. So I had him and then Commander Zinke, who's now, I think he's a senator now in Montana. But he was the XO. So anyway, that word got to him, and that's when everything changed. So that's when I was actually able to heal. But during this time, I went to the doctor, physical therapy, and the doctor called me into his office and told me that he was recommending me to be dropped from training because he didn't think I would heal in time.
That's not what you want to hear.
No. After I just got done getting the piss beat out of me for over a year in buds, and now after surviving this guy in charge of brown shirt rollback land and getting more injured because of him, now the doctor's saying, I don't think you're going to heal within 2 years. Is what he said. It's going to take at least 2 years for you to heal up. So you need to wait 2 to 3 years to come back. That's going to be my recommendation. And I got up and I yelled at him. I said, you will not do that. Only twice in my entire career, and I was in the teams for 16 years, only twice in my entire Navy career was I ever told or reminded of my rank until stay in your pin grade. Twice, and both times by doctors. This was the
if there's
first time.
anyone to get told that, though, it's the doctors.
Yeah,
that's a good group to get told that by.
So I'm pacing around, and remember, you asked me what kept me going. It was my faith. So I'm really upset at God. Why'd you let me go through all this? Why did, all the why questions, why? And the why question never gets answered, just so you know. Questioning
Spoiler
my faith,
alert.
questioning everything. And I walk into class 248 after they made it through Hell Week, and I made really good friends with them because like when I was the guy that stenciled the shirts after they made it through Hell Week, and I'm the guy that changed their socks for them, gave them a quick foot rub, put a Snickers bar in their pocket. I was that guy, so I'm making friends with all these guys. while they're going through Hell Week, when they're paddling around the world, I'm the guy that swam out and said, here's a bunch of stuff for you. So I was that guy. Anyway, um, so I walk into that class like I was always supposed to be there, and made it through the rest of the training. I actually finished third phase with a stress fracture, broken leg. That sucked. But it didn't happen until the very end, like the last week or so. So I was able
You're
to
like
kind
the
of
poster
suck it up.
child for how bad buds is for the human body. And this isn't even including the, the lack of sleep, the continuous stress, the questionable diet that we get fed from the Navy galleys, the the flesh eating bacteria that always permeates among the bud students. The what's the gastro intestinal disease that always that always hits a
It's everywhere. Yeah.
There's something that, like, it rips through. Like, guys are throwing up and literally shitting themselves during Hell Week. They're having all those rollbacks that he was talking about. They're having to like get new camis out because they can't have guys with literally shit covered camis. A, running around base. B, spreading it to all the other people. So they're like hot swapping guys in camis that just keep going. It is brutal on the body and for the long term. Everything about it. There's very little good that doesn't happen outside of the mental adversity that you get comfortable dealing with.
Yeah, but like you said, it's brutal on the body, but I can't think of anything better for your mind and your soul.
No.
Like it gives you such a that crucible. It fortifies how you think, and you know exactly who you are. Especially when you look at yourself with that brown shirt on for the first time, knowing that you had just made it through with those who gone before you, like all the team guys that gone before you all the way back to UDT, and those that go after you. Like it's something very special. You feel like you're actually part of something greater than yourself. So that's what that brown shirt represents. It's not just a brown shirt with your name on it, but it's something that represents something that can never be taken from you, that you're part of something really great. But it took going through Hell Week to get that. And that's what's really cool about men. Like, men need something like that. And our culture has lost that. They've lost what it takes to define a man. The SEAL teams haven't lost that. It's a rite of passage. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure the Q course is very much the same in that regard. And anyone in the soft community is like that. But man, I wish our culture had something like that now. We don't. We've lost it.
It really makes you feel accomplished, but then they also take it away from you real quick. I think it was Commander Hennessy. Well, he got out as a captain, I think. Captain Hennessy.
Oh, I know. I know Mr. Hennessy very well.
Great individual. But he put it best. He's like, congratulations. You all finished Hell Week. It's a huge accomplishment and milestone in progressing through this pipeline. But just remember, every single Navy SEAL on this base and every single Navy SEAL ever has also accomplished it. So you're not that special. Get back out there and keep working hard.
Exactly right. It's exactly right. It's not the end state. It's the first step. It's the first step to a very long journey. But it is the first step, because everything that happened before that was just to get to the point where you make that first step. It just weeds everybody else out. Like with buds, I always say buds doesn't make a Navy SEAL, it finds one.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, you just have to weed everybody else out, because you don't make it through buds. It means absolutely nothing. You don't know anything about being a SEAL at that point. You just proved you can get kicked in the nuts with the guys next to you and not quit. That's it. Some guys make it straight through the first time. Not me. It took me quite a few. But I never quit. Never quit. I never left buds and had to come back. I just kept on having to repeat everything.
Doesn't Goggins make like a big deal about like how many times he went through Hell Week?
I don't know. He makes a big deal about himself a lot.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just like thinking to myself, I was like, dude, there's no way that he takes the cake on this one. Like you've got to have one of the most like atrocious roads through buds and SEAL training out of anyone.
Yeah, I'm probably up there.
And I've talked to like hands down.
No, there's probably a few more guys that have been through worse than me, but probably not many.
The only one that I can think of that's similar, he was in his third buds class when I met him. I'm trying to remember his first name, but we always just call him Sullivan. His first buds class, it was in breakout from Hell Week. So Hell Week starts on Sunday night, usually like 8, 9, 10 o'clock
Mhm.
after it's gotten dark, and you're all in the classroom, and all of a sudden they start like throwing flashbangs. They have the Mark 46s with blanks going on. It's just mayhem everywhere. Everyone's just all 100 whatever people are streaming out of the classroom. He at some point during all that mayhem, he like hit his head and had blood coming down, and the medic asked him what happened, and he's like, I don't know, I don't remember, because it was just hyped
Sure.
up. And so they took that as, oh, he didn't remember it happening, like he lost consciousness or something.
Oh
And so they
no.
rolled him out. So that was, again, Sunday, right at Hell Week. So he'd already gone through 6 weeks of first phase at that point. Rolled out,
Yeah.
starts again with another class. Again, during the breakout of Hell Week, he breaks his arm. Like he falls and gets trampled and
Oh
breaks
my
his arm.
gosh.
Rolled out of another Hell Week. Now he's in my class, and he makes it to Monday night when we're doing the land portage, where we're landing the rubber boats on the
Mhm.
jetty out front of the Hotel Del Coronado. And he just had a bunch of damage to his body, because now he's at 24 weeks, or sorry, 18 weeks of first phase.
Yep.
And he has like nerve damage in his arm, and he can't grip anymore, kind of
Oh
like you.
no.
And so they roll him out. He tries for a fourth buds class, and he's just so broken at this point. Like his back's all messed up, his legs are messed up, and he just can't keep up. So they roll him out, but they like him so much that they kept him as, one of the office monkeys that's kind of hang around
Mhm.
there and to heal up, and he can put in a contract again. So he finally makes it through on his fifth buds class. He shows up at my platoon. It's my second platoon. It's now his first platoon. He was so far behind.
Man.
But yeah, it's the same thing, like abusive people that just have a glutton for punishment and come through. Like those are you type of people are the hands down the best type of people, because you're just like, I'm gonna do whatever needs to get done to finish my goals, my dreams, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. And that's what I did in business too.
I
Same
was about to say,
thing.
we've been throwing the shit around with buds, talking about buds and training for a while. Let's talk about your business, because that's probably the most exciting thing of all this. SEAL stuff is cool, but let's talk about jumping out of helicopters for a business.
For fun. That's it.
Yeah, for fun.
Yeah, because in the teams, right? Your helicopters are cool and all, but that it is a means to an end. Like it's you take a helicopter to get to a place to do the op. Nothing about it is fun. But the helicopter I have is the means and the end. The helicopter is it is strictly just to have fun. That's it. So we do all kinds of cool stuff. We fly around. All right, let me back up a little bit. So first of all, opening my company, everyone said it was impossible, which are some of my favorite words to hear. It's like it's a flooded market. I want to start a dive company that's more of high end. So I'm not racing to the bottom. That guy does it for $99. I'll do it for $98. Oh, he does it for $99. I'll do it for $300. Something like that. It's like you can go to the gas station and get a 99-cent coffee, or you can go to Starbucks and spend $10 on the same stupid cup of coffee.
It's probably
like
worse, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. But people pay for that. I don't get it. My wife's one of them. I spent $10 on a coffee. We have a coffee maker right there. Whatever.
It's the act of going to get it.
Yes. Well, people are willing to pay for the experience, and that's what I give people, is the experience. Any moron could put a regulator in their mouth and breathe underwater, but the experience of doing it with my company, Trident Adventures, that's what people are paying top dollar for. Not the scuba diving, but the experience of not just how we treat everyone, but the gear that we have, the fact that my company is all ran by team guys and veterans and active duty military. When I went through the training to become an instructor with a certain company, I won't say who because I don't like to talk bad about people, but they treated us very poorly. And the other team guy I went through with, Jim Beck, I looked at him, we looked at each other and said, well, if we open up a company, all we have to do is just not suck. we'll own this industry. We don't even have to be good. We just have to not suck, because everybody sucks. They suck hard.
It's
So
like the contractors that I know.
Yeah, right.
The contractor guys, he's like, our motto is we show up on time and sober. That's the bar that they need to remain over.
Wow.
On time and sober.
Wow, that bar is really low, isn't it? So anyway, when we started our company, we just we didn't just not suck. We did really well. And we treat people with honor, dignity, and respect, which doesn't take much, but it does take something. You know, they're not just a dollar bill. You know, when people get divorced all the time because they say, you know, they're not happy anymore. It's like, you moron, why'd you get married for happiness? That's the dumbest idea ever. The product of having a good marriage and a little bit of luck is that you're happy because you're making good decisions that are hard every single day. And the product of that is you get to be happy. But if you marry for happiness, that's stupid. So if you take that same kind of mentality into business, like if your purpose in business is to make money, you will compromise your integrity all day long. But if the product of running a good business is that you make money and the purpose is to run a good business and to treat people with honor and respect, the product or the byproduct of that is you make money while doing it. So I kind of took that mentality into business. Like, I'm just going to run a business that treats everyone well, that I never have to follow my tracks. I never have to remember what I say because I'm always honest. I don't have to try to hide things in bake the books or anything like that. Everything I'm going to do is going to be 100% moral and do things right and treat everybody with honor and dignity and respect. So do that in the scuba world. So I started in one location and I'm in a new location. I have a dive boat that we scuba dive and snorkel off of, just normal tour operations. And then I have a helicopter. I'm the only dive operation on the planet that has a helicopter. So technically it's not my helicopter. The man that owns it, his name is Richard Schumann. I mean, he's my business daddy. This guy is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He was an Army officer, and he started off enlisted, and he went officer, and he got out. And his family has been here in Hawaii for a couple hundred years. He started Schumann carriages, like horse and buggy type. Like that's the legacy that he comes from, and it gets passed down from father to son, father to son, father to son. So it started with horse and buggy, evolved into automobiles, and then now has evolved into airplanes and helicopters. And that's his legacy. What a great man. He bought a helicopter and dedicated it to my operation. Like, who does that? Who does that?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, because he believes in me, the man, and he believes in our product, our brand, Trident Adventures. So when we put this whole thing together of combining diving with helicopters, I'm working on the set of Hawaii Five-0. He has one of his helicopters there for some movie thing or TV thing. And we went to, I found a cardboard box and I'm there. Have you guys ever seen the TV show Hawaii Five-0, the newer ones?
Mm-mm.
Yep.
If you watch it, the main actor, his name is Alex O'Loughlin. He plays Steve McGarrett. So it's myself, Alex, who's a good friend of mine. He's actually a really good man. I don't really like actors at all, but this one I do. He's a good man. He's a good father, a good husband. That's why I like him, and his word matters. So then I found a cardboard box. So with myself, Alex, and Richard, I grabbed a chunk of the cardboard box, ripped a panel off the side, found a marker, and I drew out with like stick figures and a helicopter. Look, I want to do this. And someone jumping out of a helicopter, and we drew a bunch of numbers. And then Richard and I, we went back and forth on some numbers and ideas. We shook hands on it like good men are supposed to do. Shook hands, looked each other in the eyes, and been business partners ever since. There's never been one piece of signed document between us. And we've been in business together as we're not business partners, meaning we don't collectively own the same company. We own two separate companies, and we blended them like this. And the way that we work together it's the way that businesses should be run. So where your word matters, and I don't need a stupid lawyer to gen up a document between us to hold each other to our word. So there's that. I mean, there's only two things in my opinion that makes a real man anyways: how good is your word and how do you treat your woman. That's it. I don't care if you're a frogman. I don't care if you're a Green Beret. I don't care if you're a garbage man, a teacher, or whatever. How good is your word? How do you treat your woman? Anyway, so when we blended this thing together, we created this whole helicopter cast program, created helicopter cast masters. That's the guy in charge of throwing people out of helicopters, and helicopter cast pilots. So we developed this curriculum together. Essentially, I took the 3003, which was the Air Bible in the SEAL teams, and just kind of repurposed the wheel in that sense. And then submitted that to the FAA for them to approve it for commercial operations. They kicked it back once, but because there was some language in there that didn't truly make sense, even though I thought I did a good job at changing the jargon from military to civilian. There's some things not so much. So they kicked it back once and they said, what does this mean? And I fixed that and then submitted it and they totally approved it. So they approved not only of the commercial side of the operation of jumping out helicopters, but they approved of Trident Adventures as the schoolhouse to teach helicopter casting. And what's really, really cool is I got the VA to approve of our curriculum so that people that are in the military or veterans can come to my company to become helicopter cast masters. And their GI Bill pays for 100% of it. So
that's incredible.
Just like going to college. Yep. Same thing as if you're just going to Harvard or going to, Yale or local community college. Like,
I still got some GI left. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Seriously, it's a 3-week. In fact, I'm in the midst of teaching one. We just started a class yesterday. It's 3 weeks long. It's 2 days during the week. So Mondays, Wednesday nights. So 4-hour classes. And then the weekends, all you're doing is jumping out of helicopters. And you jump out with scuba gear on and everything else. And the purpose is just to have fun. That's it.
Sounds like a great way to get a vacation paid for on the GI Bill.
Not only that, you get your housing allowance too for Oahu as you go through, which is $3,400 a month tax free. Like, it is the best drug deal on the planet. And you can also come to Trident to get your scuba certifications as well. It has to be a professional level certification. So you can come and never seen a body of water a day in your life and never even taken a bath, all the way to becoming a dive master. So open water diver, advanced open water rescue diver, dive master. So they'll pay for all 4 of those certifications as long as it ends with a professional certification, which is dive master. And that's a $17,000 program for free. Costs you nothing. That's not true. Costs you $100. So almost nothing. And you get your housing allowance as you go through. So it takes about 6-7 weeks to go through. So, about, I don't know, $7,000 worth of BAH as you do it. Pretty awesome. Come 2025. Now, this is assuming that I get approved. I've gotten the green light from the VA to pursue this. Doesn't mean that they're going to approve it. It took me 4 years, by the way, to get these programs approved. But the next ones I'm working on for 2025 is freediver instructor. And I have arguably the number 1, maybe number 2 freediver instructor in the world that works with me on this. He holds Guinness records for this hemisphere for freediving, and the guy's incredible. His name's Dan. Anyway, so he works with me and he's running the program through Trident Adventures. So I can create freediver instructors. I can create surf instructors. So if you wanted to just come here and
Kevin,
surf quite a few months,
you, man.
Yep, and get a certification paid for by the VA, do it. And I'll sign the thing for you. Here's your certificate, buddy. Congratulations, you're a surf instructor. And then the other one I'm working on is range safety officer. So I'm literally going to make the VA buy your guns. This is awesome and ironic. So that's coming in 2025. So I'm submitting those last 3 for approval in about a month from now. And I'm if all the stars line up, if they do, likely they won't, but if they do, January 1st, 2025, I'll have all 5 programs. So the 3 I just talked about, and then all my scuba programs and my helicopter cast master program, all approved.
What's the likelihood of you getting helicopter pilot training so they can become the pilots for you guys?
Very, very low. And the reason is the VA won't pay. The VA won't pay for your private license. So you have to have a private license before you go commercial. That's true of fixed wing and rotary wing. And it's a major point of contention because a lot of guys would get out and get their pilot license and have their GI Bill pay for it. The VA has kicked back and said, no, we'll pay for your ground school, but we won't pay for your gas and flight time, which is where the cost is. Yeah. So it's really annoying because it's your benefit that they're closing in the boundaries and the perimeters. No good deed goes unpunished. So as far as your rotary wing is concerned, there is a company out here that does accept. It's not me. They do accept your GI Bill. I'm not sure. I think they found the workaround where they'll actually, the program takes you from 0 to hero. So it takes you from nothing all the way to being a commercial pilot license for rotary wing. And it's through Liberty University. But so you have to be an alumni of Liberty. So you sign up for Liberty, you go through Liberty's program, and it gets outsourced somehow to the company out here in Hawaii. And if you are really wanting to do that, I'll get you the information, but I don't know it on top of my head.
Yeah, I know the one loophole to getting your private pilot license is going through Embry-Riddle, because they combine your bachelor's degree with the flight training, and so you get your bachelor's and you go all the way through your commercial license.
Yeah.
But those are only on site, and you have to go through Embry-Riddle specifically. I forget where it is. I think it's like North Carolina or something. But yeah, to get the private pilot's license, you basically need to have a degree or something associated with it, or you can just go get your PPL on your own time, and then the VA will pay for, the IFR, the multi-engine, all the instruments, and all the other stuff. But you just need to get that PPL at the beginning.
Yeah, because that's super cheap.
Yeah, it's a good I mean, not to watch it. I was doing it in 2015.
Were they paying for it then?
No, that was just on my own dime. It's something I wanted to do.
Okay.
I got through soloing, but then weather didn't hold out, and I was getting ready to PCS to Korea, and I was out there for 2 years. And by the time I got back, I was like, I'm basically gonna have to start over in terms of knowledge base, and I just haven't kicked it back up. Something I want to do. It's on the docket, but I haven't picked it back up again.
Do you still have all your GI Bill?
Yes.
So your GI Bill is Chapter 33, post 9/11 GI Bill. Chapter 31 is VRNE. It used to be called VOC Rehab. Now it's called VRNE, so Veteran Readiness and Employment. It is a massive pain in the butt if you try to leverage that. It's all based on the opinion of the counselor, and they could change their opinion at any moment. And I'll have a guy who's using his VRNE to get his helicopter cast master right now, and he's having some serious issues with his VRNE counselor getting paid and paying for the programs and everything, just because she changed her mind. Nothing about him has changed, but she changed her mind. Yeah, it's really annoying.
I've heard a lot of people have issues with VRNE. Every single person I've heard has gone through the counseling session in the past 6 months has gotten denied.
Well, if you look at the original program, based on my understanding of it, which doesn't make me right, but based on my understanding of it, when it was called VOC Rehab, it was essentially meant for someone, you got to think like really, really bad scenarios, like someone that got both arms blown off and a leg. Like that's kind of what it was designed for originally, and needed to learn how to earn a living by using their eyes to type on a computer. So the program, the VOC Rehab program, was to take someone that's super jacked up like that and come up with a unique way, essentially creating a business plan through education and training and OJT, on-job training, to make this person hireable even in the crazy physical or mental state that they're in. That's what the program was originally intended for. Now, because everything is in the United States of America is all written by lawyers, there's always loopholes to everything. So veterans and advocates for veterans found loopholes in this program where, like, wait a minute, I have this VA rating of this percentage, which makes me now eligible based on what you wrote about that program. Then you have to take me in, even though the person, someone like me, like, yeah, I got some missing parts on the inside. I'm 100% disabled with the VA with all my little owies. But at least with the intent of the VRNE, I wouldn't meet the marks for that. But based on how it's written, I could still do it right now. Because on a piece of paper, I look like the guy that the program is designed for. Now it's called VRNE, so Veteran Readiness and Employment. They kind of, because that was kind of the shift that it was going to help anyone, it was more towards giving people more educational benefits. So it's basically taking their GI Bill, their 36 months that's allocated to them for their education, and tacking on extra months so that they can finish a degree or go from a bachelor's to a master's or a PhD. But because of that, because it's now been, anyone can kind of use it. I think you have to have 30%. I could be very wrong with this, so don't hold me to it. But you have to have a certain percentage disability with the VA. And now you're at least eligible to be seen by a counselor, and then the counselor will decide whether you're worthy of the program or not based on your disabilities. But they've been so inundated and flooded with people trying to get into this program that it's just easier just to say no and to drop people on the dime. And that's what I'm experiencing now with people trying to use their VRNE. So I got 3 people deep right now that are supposed to come to my company to use their VRNE benefits that they just can't cancel just because the counselor feels like it. And said, well, why don't we just focus on the education side? I had one guy move here from Thailand to go through our program. He was an Army Ranger type. And we don't even know, like, he's supposed to spend 13 months with me. His VRNE counselor looks like she's changing her mind. We won't know till Thursday. Like, and he's enrolled in my Cast Master course right now. He's been doing on-the-job training with me for almost a month, and they haven't paid him. They haven't paid him a penny yet. Like, he's supposed to learn all the managerial side of running my operation. Essentially, I'm training him to take over for me, so I can go back to that 30,000-foot view and look for the next mountaintop to conquer. So he's going through to learn all the managerial side, all the logistical side of running small business. He's learning all the helicopter side. He's learning all the scuba diving side. Let me see what else. He's learning all the stuff on the boat, to include becoming a 100-ton commercial boat captain license, getting that. Like, this takes 13 months to develop this person to essentially take over for me. And it was all approved by the VA. I have all the documents. I have all the legal documents that they had to send to me to build the VA. And it's all like, yeah, maybe we'll see if they pay or not. It's already cost me about 40 grand. Me, the business owner. I don't know what it's cost him, the recipient of these programs. Yep. It's crazy. So they're the counselors. So a little bit of grace going their way. I think they're inundated with so many veterans trying to utilize this program because they've been sold a bill of goods by another veteran telling them, do this before you use your GI Bill. That they've flooded these counselors with way too many people that are really, as far as the spirit of the law is concerned, it's not for them. Now, that being said, the people they do take on, they cannot give them the full attention that they absolutely deserve. There are people that really need programs like this to make it in the civilian world. And I know all of us know people that are really struggling as veterans, really struggling, that can use something like this. And they don't get the help they need because people that don't need that help are flooding the system. That's a benefit. That's for me. Like, give it to someone else first. And if there's space, then you fall in the back. I think that's the way it should be. I think that's the mentality that when programs like that's how they should be leveraged. Now, your post 9/11, your GI Bill, that's yours. Go for it. Do it all day long.
100%. Yeah, you use the hell out of that to, whether you need it to actually learn the skill, or if you're just using it as a segue between your time in the military and figuring out what you want to do next. It can be a good chunk of change to keep you afloat so you don't feel like you have to take the first job that comes your way. Yep. That you can actually have some thoughtful time to decompress and see what options are out there. You're not chasing the dollar sign, as you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. And we got guys that go through our helicopter cast master program or a dive master program, honestly, because they're like, I'm never going to use my GI Bill anyway. I already have my degree. A lot of officers, they already have their degree, and they're like, why not do something cool with it? We had guys go through our dive master program just so they could sell the gear after. They get, technically they don't get the gear. I just give it to them because I'm super generous. And they pay for my shipping costs with all the used gear that they pulled out of the packaging. Put their name on it. Technically it's my gear. And at the end of the course, if they graduate, which everybody does, it's like, you can buy this gear back at $100 if you'd like, because they rented. All right. So when they go through the program, they have to use gear to get through the program. You can't go scuba diving unless you have scuba gear. So built into the tuition cost is cost of the gear for rent. So I just give it to them afterwards if they want it. If not, then great. I just build my inventory more. But we had guys go through it just so they can sell the gear after.
So before we close out, can you walk us through what a typical experience looks like going through Trident Adventures? Like what people are signing up to get?
All right. So the typical experience is just normal scuba diving and snorkeling. Every day we got a couple boats going out where, I take 46 people on my boat per tour. And we mix them together. So scuba divers, certified divers, non-certified divers. We call it DSD, Discover Scuba Dive, and snorkelers. And we bring DPVs, dive propulsion vehicles, underwater scooters. We bring those on the boat for snorkelers and divers to use. We train them all how to do it. So we're very high end, very high speed. Lots of drag in the water, but high speed. So that's normal. That's every single day, 7 days a week. That's what's going on. We have the helicopter we do helocast operations out of, where you can, I do all the training. You show up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I give everybody a military style briefing. And then we go to the helicopter. We do our practices with the helicopter. Then we take off. We do a doors off helicopter tour, kind of like we did in the teams. Typically the doors were off. We do a downtown Waikiki tour, check out Diamond Head, all these cool things. And then we circle back around, and then the boat is staged out by Diamond Head in the middle of the ocean. And we jump out and get recovered on the boats in the water with all the people that didn't sign up for this. They're watching it. So that's cool too. So the guys jump out, hop on the boat, and everyone goes snorkeling, scuba diving, to include the people that jumped. So we do that every other day. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays is when we do that. And then I also have a gun range. I have a private gun range up at North Shore. I teach people how to shoot, like how to really shoot, not like your typical go to a civilian range, wait for an RSO to yell at you because you're not doing something right, and blow the whistle and clear and safe your gun before you step off the line. So I teach people how to shoot, move, communicate, work together as a team. As far as ranges go, it's kind of lame. As far as ranges in Hawaii go, it's freaking awesome. So you get what you can in Hawaii for sure. But it's on my friend's property. It's a certified range. So it's a private gun range, and it costs an ungodly amount of money just to show up. And rightfully so. Like, the guy wants to make money on his property. I believe he should. He runs a business. He runs his property. He has to hold all the certificates and pay for the insurance. So I pay top dollar just to show up. So it cost me $1,000. Cost me $1,000 just to show up. And we get there by helicopter. And we do all the nap of the earth flying. Remember that? Nap, NAP. Mm-hmm. So where you're basically hugging the contour of the earth as you're zipping in and out. And there's a lot of contours to hug in Hawaii. So valleys and mountains, and it's pretty awesome. We check out all the cool waterfalls and everything. Then we land on the gun range. We shoot, usually shoot for about 2 hours. And we typically do one-on-one, one Navy SEAL or one ex-retired, whatever you call us, Navy SEAL to one shooter. So I can only put 4 people in the helicopter. So I have these guys all standing by at the range, and I have a whole team of people. All they're doing is jamming mags. So in 2 hours of shooting, typically it would take about 2 weeks worth of any other normal shooting to get done. So they're jamming mags. So we have all the guns laid out, all the AR platforms, all the pistols, the SIGs, the Glocks. We could bring out whatever, all the shotguns, whatever. Most people like to stick with the AR-15 platform, M4, because it's kind of, I don't know, my favorite type of gun because I'm really good at it. Not the best gun, but I'm really good at it. So that's what I stick with. So we do a lot of that, do a little bit of transition drills, and people love it. We usually, by the time we leave, it's because everyone's arms are tired from holding a gun up for 2 hours. Just constantly, like, here's another mag, here's another mag, here's another mag, with thousands and thousands of rounds per person. Costs a lot of money. I charge $10,000 per person to show up to this. And I make almost nothing. I need 2 people to make money. And even then, I don't make that much money. It's just my overhead for it is so expensive because I want the experience to be that awesome. So anyway, so we fly to the gun range, we shoot for a couple hours, then we throw a wetsuit on the guy or the gals, whatever, and then we fly back, jump out, go scuba diving, and start end where we finish, which is at my shop, and provide all the transportation, everything too. I also have a hunting operation on Lanai. It's another island here in Hawaii. I partner with the Pineapple Brothers, very reputable hunting operation with private property. So same thing. We fly there with our helicopter, so it's stupid expensive. So we fly there, private helicopter. We land on the property. They come on. We shoot axis deer. It's the best tasting deer in the world, by the way. No gaminess whatsoever. They're kind of small though for deer. As far as deer go, they're small, but man, they're awesome. So we shoot, typically we go for your trophy buck in the morning, and then we go doe hunting the next day. You stay at the Four Seasons. So you stay at the Four Seasons over, and we debone and package all the meat and send it to your home. So we'll package it, and send it to home. So if you're flying in from Colorado, we send it to Colorado for you, and then we'll do whatever you want with the body. You can mount the head or whatever. And then and then on the flight back, same thing. Jump out of the helicopter and go scuba diving. That's a hunting trip. And typically we take them spearfishing too. So it's a surf and turf. You go kill all your deer and then go kill some fish. And that's our hunting trip. I'm pretty sure we're the only ones in the world to do anything remotely close to this.
That is incredible.
Yeah, these are my typical days.
Rough, dude.
It's so rough. This weekend, actually the next 3 weekends, we'll probably be jumping out of, let me see, I'm going to guess somewhere around 20 lifts. So we're doing these next few weekends each day. Like, because I'm training all my new cast masters. This is going to be a really big thing. Like, we were just on the cover of Scuba Dive magazine, jumping out of helicopters for a scuba diving magazine, which is worldwide distributed, because I created with Patty's the scuba organization we're affiliated with. I created with them 4 different levels of helicopter divers. Level 1 is when you just jump out slick. You just have a wetsuit on, positively buoyant, so you float no matter what. Level 2 is when you throw your gear out as a big bundle that's positively buoyant. You jump out after it, put your gear on, and then go dive. Level 3, your gear is already donned. You're positively buoyant, so when you jump off the helicopter into the water, you pop back up, you float. It's just like stepping off the back of a boat scuba diving. Your BCD is full, but not too full. You hop out, and your fins, you'll either have them down your wrist, or you do what we did in the teams, and you just duct tape them to your shins. That way you don't break your ankles when you jump in, and you don't kick my pilot when you're shifting around in the helicopter. Level 4 is when you jump out. Same thing. Everything's donned except for your fins. You jump out and you're neutrally buoyant. So once your head goes underwater from just jumping out of the helicopter, you stay underwater. Then you just put your fins on while you're under and do your dive. That's level 4. Logistically and safety wise, it takes a lot of work on my end. I got all these different people, safety divers in the water stage that throughout the water column in case you go down and keep on going. So it takes a lot of training for the student going through that program, but also takes a lot of training train my staff for any emergency that you can go through. But it's a lot of fun. But that's now what's called a distinctive specialty with Patty, with an actual certification. You get a card that says you're a helicopter diver, level 2 or level 3 or whatever, scuba diver. Oh, it's pretty awesome stuff.
That is remarkable what you've been able to accomplish. And I mean, I know it took you 4 years, but I feel like that's still a short amount of time for all these things you've put together. The shooting package, the hunting package, the spearfishing package, the helicopter jumping package. All this stuff is super unique, and you're literally writing the playbook for it as you go.
Yeah, blazing the trail. But it's the same thing going through buds, being in the teams. Just never quit. You have a vision. If you have vision, it gives purpose to the pain. So it's a painful process, but the pain is worth it as long as you have a vision, and not just a vision with how to obtain your goal, but what it looks like on not just on day 1, but on day 2, day 3, day 4, what it looks like 5 years down the road, what it looks like 15 years down the road. How do I pass this off to my kid or to somebody else? Like, it's an evolving vision, but the evolution of that vision is always to the next level or to the next day. But it definitely gives purpose to the pain throughout the process. Same thing. I love it. Same thing. You envision being, putting a trident on your chest, going through buds. It gives purpose to the pain to get there. But getting a trident was the end state. It's what does it look like on day 2, day 3, week 1, year 7? All that matters. And if you think that way, you think big picture. You don't get lost in the moment when everything sucks and everything seems to fail all around you.
That's a great way to look at business. To bring in the skill sets and the mentalities you learned from the military and just reapply them with a sprinkling of civilianism, I guess you can say.
Civilianism, I like that.
Yeah, to make it all work and tie it together for the rest of the world. So where can people find out more about the business and the packages that they can, I guess, sign up for?
Yeah, like anything, we have the typical social media stuff, which I suck at. Apparently it does well though. I just started doing Instagram as of like 3 days ago or 4 days ago. Because my wife taught me how to do followers. Yeah, but I had a person I hired to do it, so now I'm doing it.
Okay.
Well, it's just easier because I'd have to tell them what to do, and it's just easier to figure out and do it myself. So that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife is really good at that. So she taught me how to do it. So if you go onto Instagram, you'll see all these cool videos that we put out. Like I take people with ALS and I throw them out of my helicopter. I mean, really messed up people. I take kids that are, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, like fully retarded. I mean, mentally retarded and physically retarded. And then we work with Make-A-Wish and all these other things. And we take them, throw them out of helicopters and take them scuba diving. And we're making a TV show out of our company doing that too. So it's, yeah, because you can't be a team guy without writing a book and being on TV now. So
following the true path.
I got the glasses, I got the watch, right? You got a typical team guy.
Out with the book.
All you greenie beanies, you make fun of us all the time.
Yes, we do.
Yes, you do.
We enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for recruiting, though.
It is.
So anyway, so we're making a TV show taking a guy named Colin Cook. He got his leg bit off by a tiger shark. We're featuring him, and then his wife, Sydney. She got blown up in the Boston City Marathon.
Okay.
Her whole body's all peppered, looks, but they got married. So we're featuring those two and a girl named Lila, a girl from Maui. I met her through Make-A-Wish. She has seizures all day long. Sweetest little girl, feisty one, but really sweet. She wanted to be a Navy SEAL, so that's how I met her. And we're featuring these three people in our television series, doing all these cool Navy SEAL things with people that never thought they could do something like that. But anyway, it's a long way around saying you'd see the development of that on our social media. So social media, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if we have anything else. We probably do. But my website, tridentadventures.com. That's where you'll definitely be linked to everything. And that's where you can book our stuff too.
And what about service members interested in using their GI Bill through you guys' website?
So same thing. If you go to the website, the drop-down menu will say VA approved programs. And then it's essentially a link to a separate website it answers all the questions you need to know if you want to come use your GI Bill. You can also do what's called Skill Bridge or CSP. So people that are like, hey, I'm getting out of the military, I want to go do some on-the-job training somewhere while the military is still paying my paycheck. We take these people on it's usually 3 to 4 months. It's a program that's up to 6 months, but it hardly ever gets approved for 6 months. Usually it's 3 or 4 months. And while the military is paying them, I get free labor out of it. So I get your free labor. You get to do cool stuff with me and my company and learn some sucky stuff too, like the managerial side, but absolutely necessary. And it translates to anything you want to do, whether you want to be in the tour and education business like me, learning how to manage people, balance books, run assets and logistics. You learn all that with me too, while you get to go scuba diving, snorkeling, and jumping out of helicopters.
It's like the cool MBA program.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But that's all on the website. So you can look that up and it'll show you everything. Actually, the guy that runs that is another team guy. His name is Ken Good. Really, really amazing guy. Old guy, but he doesn't think he is. He comes out e-foiling with me and surfing. And
it's a mentality.
He's a bit of an inspiration. He's in his 60s and he looks fantastic. So as broken as all of us are.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on the show, imparting your knowledge, sharing your experiences, and diving into what you've been able to build for this company. Aside from the company being, the success and the stuff you've been able to create with that, what you've also been able to develop with the GI Bill stuff, the Skill Bridge stuff, the PADI certification, the FAA certification, like that's all just as remarkable, if not even more, because it's such a unique vision that you've been able to create and develop something out of nothing, which is really the epitome of entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, tell you what, guys, it was an honor to be a part of this, and thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure.
Thanks, Steve. It was great meeting you, man.
Yeah, buddy. Love you, greenie beanies. All right, guys. Aloha.